Coyote Run Farm is 110 acres, and it's kind of 1/10 of the farm that I grew up on. So my parents' farm is a 1,000-acre operation with 150 cows. We're 110 acres with 10 to 12 cows. Our goal is to do about 1/10 of the gross income that my parents do. So my parents do all commodity agriculture. We do all direct to consumers. So we feel like the goal of the farm is that by the 10th year, we're in our 7th this year, by our 10th year, hitting about a $80,000 to $90,000 gross income, and hopefully our return is going to be close to 20-25% return on the dollar, as opposed to 5 or 6 or 7 or 8%. So the goal is to generate net income from the farm of about $20,000 to $25,000, which basically is one income. So I work full-time off the farm, and Pat works full-time on the farm. And the goal is to use, instead of commodity agriculture, to use direct-to-consumer, branded relationship marketing. And the farm is built around the notions of sustainability. So this is what they call a high tunnel. If you're using this technology for livestock, they call it a hoop building. For vegetable production or crop production, they usually call it a high tunnel. This is part of our EQIP contract. We are utilizing a significant amount of government programs, so the American people have invested significantly in our farm, and this would be one of those things. We qualified for the EQIP high tunnel grant, and so they basically paid for about half of the cost of this structure as a grant, and then for 4 years we maintain it and provide information back to NRCS. The biggest challenge has been trying to figure out what enterprises to put together. So we knew what we wanted to do conceptually. Okay, we looked for a farm, got a real estate agent, kind of put our finances together, spent a couple of years planning. Didn't start looking right away, because the saddest, most frustrating thing is to find the perfect farm and not actually be able to buy it. So we just did some research, but we didn't start looking for a couple of years as we put together our personal finances, because for the most part we're self-funding, other than for a few big loans for the land itself, and then we've done a couple of big projects, rehabilitating the barn and doing some work on the house. But operating is all out of pocket. We don't have an operating loan. So then what do you put together? How do you what are the enterprises that you put together? How do you figure out what things are going to cost, and how are you going to finance it? What's going to be successful, what's not going to be successful. And we're in our 7th year, and we're still learning that. Back to that whole notion of challenge, is figuring that all out, and figuring it all out in a way that we didn't overspend, and that we were investing in things that would actually have a return. Every year we do something that doesn't have a return, so we learn from that and move on. We've had just a tremendous amount of support from a lot of different people. Certainly my parents, Bill and Connie Russell. My parents have just been really supportive. We've got a lot of my dad's old equipment that was sitting around at his place that hadn't been used in a number of years, 10s or 20s of years, but it fits really well with what we're trying to do. When we first bought the farm and looked at some equipment and bought a tractor, my parents bought the tractor for us. They could write a check for it, and then we paid them back over the rest of that year, at no interest. So a lot of support, both in terms of just giving us a leg up, as well as being able to pick up the phone and call. And we're fighting pink eye right now with the cattle we've got here, so it's calling my dad and saying, hey, this is what's going on, and what do you suggest? Calling the vet back where I grew up, as well as then checking with the vet here in our neighborhood. Our neighbors are tremendously supportive. So Tony and Irene, that share our fence line to the north, they loan us equipment, and we go up and help them too, but they loan us equipment and have just been tremendous cheerleaders and supporters. And in fact, all the neighbors around. And then we took a class, Grow Your Small Market Farm Business class with Penny Brown Huber. That's been great. At that class, we actually met some additional neighbors, not next door, but in like a 15-20 miles from here, still in this county. And together we put, as we got to know each other, we do a farm crawl every year. So actually work together to host an open house of all these farms. It's a pumpkin patch, an apple orchard, a corn maze, a pottery farm that they're actually using clay from White Breast Creek to make pottery. So it makes a really nice fall Sunday for people to hit all the farms. I talk about our marketing as relationship marketing. So we sell some things that in Iowa would be considered commodities. We sell some hay, we sell some straw, we sell beef, we sell eggs, but we don't sell any of them as commodities. We sell them all as really high quality products branded back to our farm. And we sell them directly to people that we're building a relationship with. Our main place where we develop our customer base is the downtown farmers market in Des Moines on Saturday mornings. And we started that our second year at the farm. And we move probably about 60 or 70% of our, maybe 75% of our net sales or gross sales come through the farmers market. But then we also use that to develop some further relationships. So when there isn't a farmers market during the off season, kind of January through April, the chickens are still laying eggs, and so we've used those customers at the farmers market. I go to Drake almost every day for work. So to sell 50 or 60 dozen eggs a week directly to customers in Des Moines has worked out really well too. And then on top of that is we get some winter storage and some winter crops out of this building to be able to add to their order, not just the eggs, but some greens or some potatoes or onions or something that stores. There's some basics, and I'd certainly suggest they think about how they're financing it. I think a lot of people that think about working for themselves, and this would be for farming included, they think about, well, I'm going to start farming, and therefore that's my job, and I'm going to not do anything else but just farm, and I'm going to live that way. And most small businesses in this country don't start that way. The pattern for small business development in the United States is that you self-finance, so you have a good paying job doing something else, and you save your money, and you have your idea, and you develop and you incubate your idea, and you're basically starting small, and you're not necessarily eating and paying for insurance and making your car payments and your mortgage payment out of that enterprise for a number of years. And I think people that are real successful realize that, and people that don't realize that, I think, get really disappointed really fast.